I saw a program about Karl Marx on Russian TV channel or elsewhere. Someone sent me the link to it. It's simply hilarious how they interpret him, how they scrutinize him. They were very intellectual people, but they didn't understand the problem at all. It is clearly stated in his works, very clearly. Bal writes about it in his newspaper, The People, and in other places in his work called The Last Generation. We have it all in languages, in all languages, English, Russian, etc. And it is absolutely clear that Karl Marx writes not about some kind of society of some obscure proletarians. He writes about the society of bright people, which need to be enlightened, educated. Enlightenment derives from the word light. And nobody took care of it. Right away they jumped to terrorizing people. We'll quarrel them into a bright future with the club. And that was a big loss of Russia. And immediately there began outflow of intelligence, of smartest people, scientists, artists. They all immediately detected where all of it is going to. So they ran away abroad. In fact, initially in every person there is a huge gravitation toward equality, solidarity, unity. Initially. Because human is a social animal. Being, let's call him being, not animal. Social. It's a creature that cannot live alone. And therefore, if he lives in the society, he prefers that the society is kind toward him, allied, compassionate, just like a child in a family. If, in addition, you educate him, but educate properly, then you can achieve good results. Besides, you see the Soviets nurtured the entire world. Because of USSR, there were great changes taking place in all countries in the world. Thanks to it, both in Europe and United States, they had to adjust many things related to their own workers, related to their own people, and so on. In the sense of sociology, aid for poor people, for instance, all kinds of supportive, how to say it, mechanisms. Mechanisms in society had to be created. Exactly because the Soviets bragged that everyone is equal in our country. We are the international. So this elimination of slavery, not the one that happened over 100, 150 years ago, but I mean such slavery as inequality of blacks and whites in the United States, for example. It happened under the influence that in Russia, everyone was proclaiming that everyone is equal. Americans could not allow themselves that. Otherwise, they could care less about it. They would continue to suppress the blacks. So that would be. They didn't see any need in fixing it. All that happened only under influence of Russia, USSR to be more correct. And healthcare and free education for all, though there is a big difference between schools, but nevertheless, free healthcare for all, and welfare support for poor people, for unemployed, or simply for deadbeats, because there's a lot of them get multiplied. But that doesn't matter. There's nothing you can do. Why? Because otherwise everyone is going to say that it's better in Russia. So the propaganda that Soviet Union transmitted to the entire world, things which it didn't really have itself, but nevertheless it was the spite of those capitalists. It was pinching them. So they somehow had to correct all of that. Yeah. Besides all of that, along with sports, ballet, and the rest, all that gave an impression that indeed we are surely moving toward the communism, toward the bright future. So I would say that Russia, through its existence, nurtured the West. Because no matter what you say, but if I bring up the argument that everyone is equal on our side, by that I eliminate that pain that person has. If I say that no one is hungry in our side, I give him confidence by the fact that I tell him that everyone loves one another. I give him the sensation of warmth in home, sensation of a mother love, something that everyone subconsciously desires, and everyone protects exactly that internal feeling in him or her of a cradle of a mother when she holds you in her hands, when you are under the protection, when you are under protection of a society which gives you such feeling as the mother would. You don't need nothing more, nothing at all. Therefore, how to say it, and here, and moreover, if you have millionaires and poor people, then what are you going to brag about? About the fact that you have both, these and those? That you cannot brag about, because how many of these and how many of those? And how these relate to those? Besides, for a long period, in Russia, sometimes before the Civil War, I think. Before the Second World War, I think indeed there was a solidarity. There were no differences between nationalities. There was a such national politics promoted, where you had Uzbeks, Tajiks, Jews, Russians, Belarusians, Ukrainian, and look what's happening today. It's awful in such country as that. And nevertheless, it wasn't enough. It was all obvious. They didn't know how to do it. But if in fact it was implemented the right way, when you have the higher goal, and from there you get knowledge and strength and how to do it, then it comes out completely differently. And that forced, as I already mentioned, to eliminate slavery in America, to make all nationalities equal. They passed very harsh laws there, such that it is safer today to insult and then fire a white person than African American. Today. Therefore, equality, the sensation of warmth and protection, these are such, in general, the advantages of a system which you cannot put anything against. Nothing. Because all these things exist in us by nature. I strive to protection, such as from the mother. I want to be not protected, but I want to feel that warmth. And I want to feel that everyone is equal, because if I feel that I'm not equal with others, I'm above someone and someone is above me and so on, then it causes absolute inequality. It brings in the competition, rivalries, which is completely unnecessary. In Soviet Union, they developed things like Stakhanov's contests, which are completely different in its nature. It was for the sake of the welfare of entire society. Who can provide more for the society? The problem was that it was all underdeveloped. It was based on a different thing. They took the right ideas and then tried to implement them egoistically. All in all, to us Kabbalists, all these problems are clear, the problems of the communists had. So, of course, they showed wrong example. But nevertheless, humanity, after making this very serious circle, will inevitably come to the same state. Correct understanding of Marx's teachings. And indeed, he understood very seriously and correctly this method of unity between people. Where did he get it from? How did he come to it? It's simply a vision of a correct connection. Commutation between people has to be exactly like that and not any other way. Here you have 1 million people in front of you, or 10 million, 100 million, 10 billion. So how do you commutate them among themselves, take into consideration their true nature, so that between them you would get the proper and stable connection? So here you have it. Go ahead. You have the problem with all conditions, try to solve it. Just imagine, try it.